At 11 o'clock at night, the neon lights were flashing. In the darkest corner booth of the bar, Violet knelt on the floor, expertly opening a bottle for the man seated before her. The same slender fingers that had once played piano and won scholarships were now covered in small red scars from dish soap. Miss Violet, after opening this bottle, your commission should cover your brother's medication for a whole month, shouldn't it? Cruel laughter echoed around her. Violet didn't look up. Her long hair hid her face, which was pale as paper. Her voice was raspy. "Thank you, Mr. Ethan, for your patronage." Then a pair of expensive custom leather shoes appeared in her field of vision. It was Ethan. 5 years earlier, he had been her most pathetic admirer, a broke college student she couldn't be bothered to look at. And now, he was a powerful mogul in the city's upper class, a creditor she had to beg on her knees. Ethan's long fingers tilted her chin up, his eyes sharp as blades. In the haze of cigarette smoke, he sneered. "Violet, where's that pride you had back then? Go on, give me another performance. Show me how you'd rather die than give in." The city that never sleeps was just starting to come alive. Violet wore a black slip dress. The moment she stepped out of the VIP room, a chill ran down her arms. Her jacket was in the car, so she decided to head home. "Violet!" She turned at the sound of her name. Ryan was behind her, likely having come straight from work, his shirt collar loose, still wearing that same carefree look. "You come back to the country and don't even tell us? Are we still friends or not?" Ryan walked closer, having initially thought he had misrecognized her. The woman before him had wavy hair, red lips, and even without eye makeup, her eyes looked naturally lined. Sure enough, whether 3 years ago or today, she always stood out in a crowd. Violet smiled faintly, her eyes gentle in the warm lighting. "I only got back a few days ago. I was going to rest a bit before reaching out. Everyone's here. Want to come in?" She was a little bored, but she didn't feel like drinking. "Maybe not," she said reluctantly. "I'll host a get-together next time." Ryan noticed her hesitation and nodded. "Fair enough. Today, the second son of the Chun family is in the VIP room, and all the women are practically drooling over him." Violet's eyes flickered. She said a name softly. "Ethan." "Who else?" "The second son of the Chins in the capital. We used to just hang with the guys, but then Ian had to go and invite some women today." The young master's face was stormy. "I wouldn't have guessed you knew Ethan," she said with a small smile. "It was right after you left. He's 2 years younger than us, but his business sense and skills are better than his brother's. I give him credit." Ryan lit a cigarette, sighing. Violet watched him, then slowly tucked her car keys into her purse and raised an eyebrow. "Let's go say hi." Ryan's fingers paused, and his usual playful grin returned. "What? You a new type now, Violet?" Violet didn't answer. She kept her arms crossed, her bare skin almost glowing under the lights. Ryan watched her slender back and suddenly remembered college. Violet had been the campus goddess, honest and loyal, more beloved by women than by men. But then the tax evasion scandal hit, her father went to prison, and the Violet family crashed to the bottom. The fine was a bottomless pit. No one dared to lend them money, and everyone kept their distance, terrified of getting dragged into the disaster. Even her close friends had just graduated and had no real influence. They were powerless. In the end, her father used every connection he had to send his only daughter abroad. At first, they still talked on iMessage, but over time, the chat log shrank to just holiday wishes. Ryan smiled at the memory and caught up to her. "Hey, look who showed up." Ryan pushed open the door just as the music cut out between songs. "No way, Violet." Ian set down his drink and jumped to his feet. "You didn't even tell us you were back, Violet." Leo was sprawled on the couch, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Well, I'm here now." Her eyes drifted to a man nearby. The lights were low. He wore an open black jacket and barely glanced their way, saying nothing. Violet stepped forward, reached over the low table, and extended her hand. "Nice to meet you, Violet." In the silence, her voice was clear and smooth, gentle but edged with purpose. Very direct. The man raised his eyes just as the screen lights brightened, and Violet got a clear look at his face. His features were sharp and elegant, strikingly handsome. She kept her hand extended without a hint of embarrassment, as if she knew he would eventually respond. The man in the dim light studied her for a moment, then stood with a soft laugh and shook her cool hand. "Ethan Chun." He was tall, his voice deep, landing on her ears like water from a mountain spring, mysterious and elegant. Ryan didn't know why, but watching them greet each other felt like watching a battle. He got goosebumps. Fortunately, the music came back on. Everyone took turns catching up with Violet, then returned to their drinks and singing. Violet took a sip of wine, her eyes sweeping the room before settling on him again. She twirled her hair idly, then picked up her drink and moved to the seat beside him. "Want a drink?" "Ethan can't have any more tonight." Chloe was on his left and immediately raised her hand to block the glass, acting like she was very close to him. Violet shot her an impatient impatient look. Did I ask you? The chill in Violet's voice made Chloe shrink back and shut up. Ryan had been watching the scene and jumped in to defuse it. Chloe, go order some more drinks from the bar. Put on my name. Ethan said nothing. In the low light, he turned to look at her. His eyes were bright, her expression striking and cold. A moment later, he looked away, smiled faintly, picked up his glass, and swirled it without offering a toast. The veins on his hand stood out faintly. He raised a glass and took a slow sip. Violet froze for a second. The music swelled, but she could still hear her own racing heart. She laughed, set down her drink, and leaned in close to his ear, her breath hot against it. Don't you know that's rude, little brother? The air smelled faintly of flowers, like roses in bloom. Ethan's smile disappeared. He didn't react to her proximity or her obvious seduction. Their eyes locked across the dim room. Slowly, loud enough for her alone, he said, "Then teach me, big sister. Violet, you have good taste. Going after our Mr. Chun right away." Ian was a little drunk and made a half-joking comment. Violet came back to herself, the man's teasing voice still in her ears. Her cheeks felt hot. She sat up straighter and smiled. Just looking isn't enough. Someone has to give him to me. Ethan had his glass raised, but he paused at her words. Then he took a sip, his expression hidden in the dim light. Ian was obviously drunk and hadn't really heard. He pulled up a chair. "Let's play dice. Lowest number drinks." "Easy." Leo sat down across the table, his date on his arm. "You're good at this, Violet." Ryan just smiled, his eyes moving between Violet and Ethan. Violet was famously bad at games. Everyone knew she always lost. The dice and drinks were in front of her, but she couldn't get drunk tonight. "No," she said with a smile. Chloe came back in and saw everyone together. Her earlier gloom had vanished. She'd taken off her jacket and wore only a low-cut top. "You're playing games? Let me in." She sat down right next to Ethan again. "Everyone's already here. What's the point if you don't play, Violet?" "We already know he won't play," Leo said, glancing at Ethan and shaking his head. "Just a couple rounds, a few drinks," Ryan said, grabbing the opener. The others crowded in. Violet hesitated. This was her first time seeing her old college friend since coming back, and sitting out would be a buzzkill. She started to speak. "Roll," Ethan said, leaning back. "If she loses, I'll drink." The music wasn't loud, and every syllable reached the whole room. Chloe's face darkened. She had been chasing him forever, and now he was drinking for another woman. Her glare at Violet turned sharp. Ryan stopped mid-pour and shot a knowing look at Violet, who looked just as surprised. "No way. Even Mr. Chun is covering for you. You have to play now, Violet." Leo's jaw dropped. Violet turned and met his eyes. She smiled and held his gaze, her expression seductive, her collarbone catching the low light. "Let's go." True to form, Violet lost on the first roll. Everyone turned to Ethan. He looked like he had expected it. He took the glass and downed it. Cheers and music filled the room, loud and charged with something unspoken. Violet's heart raced. She looked down to hide her reaction. She rolled a few more times, lost again, and stood. "I quit." Leo was having fun and started to protest, but she kept talking. "Mr. Chun, want to step out and clear your head?" As the night deepened, the bar's wild side emerged. The crowd swelled, and the music grew more intense. The second-floor hallway, by contrast, was much quieter. Violet stayed close, leaning against the cool wall with her arms crossed. Across from her, Ethan lit a cigarette. The flame briefly illuminated his face before the smoke rose and veiled it. "What are you staring at?" Ethan lowered his hand, cigarette between his fingers, and looked down at her with a faint smile. Violet didn't flinch at being caught. She just smiled easily. "Thanks for that, Mr. Chun." Ethan let the cigarette burn, his dark eyes fixed on her. "How are you going to thank me?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Violet hadn't expected him to turn around on her. "Don't tell me you want me to give myself to you," she said lightly. Ethan just smiled, his eyes gleaming. He let his gaze drop to her shoulders, but said nothing. Violet's eyes shifted. She reached out and toyed with the zipper on his jacket. "Not interested, Mr. Chun," she murmured. Her eyes were seductive, her movements brazen. Ethan's smile dimmed. He studied her for a moment, then smiled again. "Were those people inside to you?" Violet paused. "College friends." "What?" Ethan didn't reply. He casually took her wrist and held it. "I don't sleep with my friends' women," he said in a low voice. Violet kicked off her heels, paced the living room, and had just sat down when Ethan came in from the kitchen with a glass of water. He wasn't wearing a jacket, just a black t-shirt. "Drink this," he said. Violet tucked her hair back, took the glass, and smiled. "How many girlfriends have you had? Do you treat them all this well?" Ethan sat beside her, holding her gaze. "What answer are you looking for?" "The one you want me to hear," she said. They were both smiling, both feeling each other out. Ethan tapped his knee. 24. Second son of the Chun family. No real power in the company. Luke is my older brother. Never had a girlfriend. The room went quiet for a second. He leaned back and raised an eyebrow. Does that satisfy you? His direct stare and the soft way he called her big sister made her tense up, her ears turning red. What do you want to know about me? I can. She trailed off. No need, Ethan said, standing and sliding his hands into his pockets. His smile didn't reach his eyes. His arrogant tone pissed Violet off. She chased after him. Hey, Ethan, that's really rude, you know. Before she could finish, her breath hitched. He pinned her against the bedroom door. I'm disrespectful, and I have no manners, his deep voice said in her ear. So teach me. His face was inches from hers, his breath warm on her skin. Her heart hammered. She wet her lips and looked up into his dark, piercing eyes. The curtains were drawn, but the faint glow from the streetlights slipped through the cracks. The air was thick with tension. Violet swallowed nervously. She hesitated, then rose on her toes and gave him a brief peck on the corner of his mouth. Just a second, and she pulled back, looking away. Her face was burning, but the dim light hid it. The faint scent of roses filled the air around them. Ethan smiled, slid his hand to her waist, and kissed her. He led her to the bed, and Violet lost all control. He was tender and rough, and she let herself sink. She gasped in the silence, broken only by soft breaths. A sharp sound escaped her. Ethan watched her, and a fierce need rose inside him. He wanted to tear her down, break her pride, but also hold her carefully and claim every part of her. It's too late to change her mind now. Sharp pain shot through her. Violet whimpered, her face tight. Their breaths mixed. For a moment, everything else faded. She only knew his arms around her, only knew that the man holding her was the one she had kept in her heart for 3 years. Morning came, but the bedroom was still dark. The air still held the scent of their passion. Violet opened her eyes slowly. The clock on the nightstand read 10. She glanced up and saw a new set of women's clothes folded nearby. The whole apartment was silent. Violet's stomach dropped. Her phone rang. Violet, no one's home. Weren't we supposed to check out the shop location? Violet suddenly remembered. She ended the call quickly, ignored the soreness in her body, and got dressed. As she left, she noticed an umbrella on the entryway cabinet. She paused, then quietly shut the door behind her. This place is huge, right? All glass. Your shoe designs are gorgeous, so customers will be drawn in just from the street. Hazel was almost shouting, thrilled. Violet glanced around. This place must cost a lot, she said. The owner said $10,000 a month. That's a deal. This is the most popular area in the city. We got lucky. Violet nodded, but was still suspicious. Who set up that meeting for you? Some friend of mine. I already paid the deposit, so we're good. Hazel was thrilled. Then she noticed Violet's dress. You really are something. You just got back, and you're already wearing Chen's new limited edition. Violet hadn't even realized what she was wearing. She touched the fabric, then thought of last night and blushed, tucking her hair behind her ear to hide it. Hazel frowned. She'd never seen Violet so bashful, and she spotted the marks on her neck. Violet, you're in trouble. Who is he? She and Hazel had met at design school overseas. Two Chinese girls who clicked and decided to start a business together. Violet smiled at her. Who else would it be? Hazel's eyes went wide. No way, Ethan. In the executive conference room at Chun Corp, Ethan, who had been dragged out of bed by an 8 a.m. call for a meeting, now sat opposite the head of the table, legs crossed, looking completely at ease. His black suit jacket was open, no tie, his expression slightly annoyed. He looked both casual and intimidating. Then a small smile tugged at his lips. Ethan, everyone is reading. What are you smiling about? Luke, in contrast, looked much more serious, his dark eyes sharp behind silver-rimmed glasses. The room fell silent, and everyone turned to stare at him. What? I can't even smile now. Ethan wasn't intimidated at all. His grin only grew. Luke studied him for a moment. Don't forget the Violet family disaster 3 years ago. Your little misuse of power cost the company 6 months of work. Ethan shrugged. That's why I'm working for you now, isn't it? Luke sighed. His brother had always done whatever he wanted, especially when she was involved. Meeting's over. Ethan, stay. The room emptied, but Ethan stayed put, lounging in his seat. Get to it. I'm Busse. Luke removed his glasses with deliberate slowness. I heard the Violet girl is back. Did you see her yesterday? Ethan met his brother's gaze, his attitude cooling. He stood and picked up his keys. I'll handle it. Don't touch her, he said quietly. After checking out the shop and meeting with the designer, Violet was walking alone when she ran into an old acquaintance. Violet took a slow sip of coffee, then met the man's eyes. After all this time, you're still as irritating as ever, she said, her tone icy despite her smile. We were each other's first. Still so bitter. Zach smiled, eyeing her. She was just as proud as she'd always been. Zach had worked hard to win Violet back then. When he was about to give up, she actually said yes. Young and arrogant, he couldn't resist bragging about landing the campus queen. He still remembered the night he'd said the goddess wasn't all that, only to get punched by a guy in his dorm. He'd never told anyone except his roommates. A total disgrace. Violet looked out the window. She never rushed into relationships. But junior year, everyone around her was pairing off, and she got restless. That was when she met Zach. She watched him for a while and decided to try. guy. But the very first night, she got a recording. She knew his voice, and when he acted so shifty the next day, she realized men were all the same, fake and full of themselves. Violet came back to herself, picked up her purse, and stood. Enjoy your coffee. Goodbye forever. Zach's gaze followed her and landed on the small chin logo on her dress. He froze. Are you with Ethan? She stopped at the name. One dress, and you assume I'm with him? She said with a smile. But inside, she was confused. There were two sons. Why did he immediately think of Ethan? Zach frowned. Then his expression cleared, almost relieved. I never guessed that kid was a chun. Getting beaten up by him in college was almost worth it. What do you mean? Violet turned. Ethan and I were roommates. The night you got that recording, he and I fought. It hit her like a bomb. Ethan had known her back in college. Violet stared at Zach's smug face and sat back down. Why did he hit you? Guys fight over girls. You know why? Zach said. Violet stepped out of the cafe into the bright sun. She felt dazed, like she was forgetting something. Her phone rang. It's me, a low, pleasant voice said. Violet was stunned. Ethan hooked a piece of clothing with his finger. You forgot this, he said with a smirk. I'll pick it up tonight, she said. Tonight? You sure that's all you want? She didn't answer. She woke up to darkness outside. She held her sore back and got up, blushing at the memory. She sighed and reached for her phone. A few notifications lit up the screen. She scrolled. No calls from him. Then she remembered something and jumped up. A sports car was parked at the curb. The man's sharp features were accentuated in the dark. Thanks, Ethan. Want to come in for a minute? Chloe was perfectly made up, her legs pale and slim. She tapped her phone, trying to hide how nervous and hopeful she was. Ethan didn't glance at her. He lit a cigarette, the flame reflecting off his face in flickering light. Chloe couldn't help herself. She raised her phone and took a surreptitious photo of him lighting up. Ethan blew out smoke, his hand resting on the window frame. Then he turned to her. Do you know why I gave you a ride? Chloe pocketed her phone. She met his eyes for a moment, then looked away. She shook her head. Ethan laughed softly, his eyes dark as the night. Your eyebrows look like hers. He paused. Now get out. Chloe stood in the wind, watching the black car disappear. She stared blankly, then her grip on her phone tightened. She knew who he meant. She had thought she was different to him. Cold, but he'd never just told her to leave before. So when she asked for a ride, he said yes. She hadn't realized it was just because of her eyebrows. She stared at the photo on her phone, biting her lip. Violet rang the bell 3 times before the door finally opened. He was in a bathrobe, loosely tied, his hair still damp. His skin was pale, his lips pink. She forced herself to look away. I came for my things. Ethan leaned against the doorframe and watched her walk in, blushing. He smirked and shut the door. He caught her wrist as she passed and pulled her into his arms. Why so shy? He asked. Just like that, the air between them grew heated. Violet still wore the black V-neck dress. The faint rose perfume she'd put on earlier surrounded them, making the moment even more charged. Did you know me back then? She asked, tapping his throat playfully. His eyes shifted. Who did you meet today? Zach, she said. Do you know him? He looked at her in silence for a moment, then smiled. No, he said, turning toward the kitchen. Violet was full of questions now. She followed him into the kitchen. His back was lean and broad. He made a bathrobe look good. Violet had never been shy about going after what she wanted. She stood beside him as he poured a glass of water. Water doesn't always help, she said. Ethan paused, pushed the glass aside, and leaned back lazily. Now that you've taught me manners, are you going to teach me how to quench my thirst too? Her heart pounded. Trapped in his space, she tried to push him back, but he was too close. He kissed her deeper than the night before, with an intensity she couldn't name. He seemed almost angry. He held her against the counter, her back digging into the hard edge. Where are we? She managed to ask. He bit her collarbone, leaving a small mark. Whatever you want, he said. I'll give it to you. His voice was low and rough and almost sounded sincere. Before she could think, he picked her up. His voice turned cold. You just slept with me. Then you go see your ex? Her ears burned. So you didn't know me back then? Later, the faint sound of traffic drifted in from outside. Violet collapsed onto the bed. Through the steamed-up glass of the shower, she could see his outline, like a silent current drawing her deeper. She finally let sleep take her. Violet woke to the sound of her phone. She fumbled for it and answered without checking the screen. Violet, you free tonight? You promised to buy us dinner. Ryan was on speaker. Ian and Leo were in the background, agreeing. Violet rolled over, still half asleep. Yeah, you. She didn't finish. Hands wrapped around her waist and pulled her close. The familiar scent of mint filled the air. You woke me up, a sleepy, intimate voice said. The line went dead silent. Violet's eyes flew open. She was wide awake. Ryan and Leo were yelling in shock on the phone. Violet ended the call fast, pulling the covers up. Why are you still here? This is my place. Where would I go? He was still half asleep and pulled her back down. Violet bit her lip, embarrassed. I'm leaving, she said, pushing him away. Do your morning stretches first, he murmured. She didn't know what to say. Early spring in the city, the night breeze was soft. Neon signs flickered along the busy streets. Violet had Xavier reserve a VIP room to make things easy. She went home and changed into a button-up to hide the marks on her neck. She ran into Hazel outside the bar. They say pretty people stick together. Do any of your friends look good? Hazel asked. asked. Violet thought about it. Yeah, they're all good looking. You can have anyone but mine. Wow, you really are impressive. You already got Ethan? Hazel hesitated, giving Violet a worried look. Violet knew her too well. Just tell me. Hazel moved closer. I follow this online personality. She posted something on her private account last night, and it looked exactly like your Ethan. She showed Violet the photo. Violet's expression hardened. The angle was from the passenger seat. His head was down, his profile sharp. Even in the dim light, she knew it was Ethan. The caption was a red heart, suggestive and unclear. She saw the username. It was Chloe. The screen went black. Violet looked away. They're probably just friends, she said quietly. But the caption and the comments, it looks like she's showing off her boyfriend. Hazel frowned. Fancy seeing you again. Zach sent his friends ahead and approached Violet with a cocky smile. He nodded at Hazel. Violet's mood soured. She remembered Zach knew Ethan. Hazel, go ahead inside, she said. Ethan sat in his car, watching a man and woman across the street. You called just for this? He said into the phone. I'm just telling you not to do anything stupid again. Violet is charming, but she'll run circles around you. The car was silent. Outside, the streets were noisy and crowded. Ethan flicked his lighter, thinking. Then he looked at the empty sidewalk. I can't handle her. No, 3 years ago, she didn't see you. And now she's still. He hung up before his brother could finish, got out, and slammed the door. The VIP room was rowdy. Chloe really wanted to come. Hope that's okay. Leo had an apologetic look. Violet glanced at Chloe beside Ethan, her expression icy, but she shrugged. It's fine. I just wonder which one of you she's here for. Everyone knew Chloe had a thing for Ethan, but he didn't want her. The guys pretended not to notice. Ryan suddenly remembered. He slept in pretty late today. Who was that guy on the phone? They hadn't recognized him because she'd just woken up and phone calls sound different. Violet just smiled. She watched Ethan across the room. Chloe whispered something, and he turned his head, a small smile on his lips. The picture was peaceful and irritating at the same time. Violet's fingers were cold. She grabbed 2 glasses and walked over. Drink, she said, staring at Chloe. Chloe hesitated and looked at Ethan. He didn't react. Embarrassed and a little scared of Violet's intensity, she took the glass and drank. Violet's gaze shifted. You're just going to watch her drink alone? She said with a taunting smile. The music was low. Everyone looked at each other. Ryan remembered the morning phone call and went still. Ethan grabbed Violet's wrist and led her out of the room. In a quiet hallway, he pinned her against the wall. It was so quiet she could hear them breathe. His face was unreadable, but his eyes saw everything. Jealous, he laughed. Violet looked away, but her heart clenched. It ached like nothing she'd ever felt. She didn't say no. His smile grew. Then he remembered his brother's words. You can't handle her. She doesn't see you. His smile faded. He leaned in close. It was just fun. Why did you catch feelings? His mocking smile made Violet freeze. The familiar words hit her like a knife to the chest. That year, the tax scandal broke. Her father was arrested. The family lost everything overnight. Everyone but Ryan and a few others abandoned them. She understood fair weather friends, but she didn't understand why people showed their true ugly colors when she was down. Everyone loves a rose in full bloom, but when it fades, they toss it away and curse its thorns. That night, she stood outside and listened to a man who had once declared his love now sneer at her. She always rejected people clearly. She never let anyone on. She tried to be kind, but she underestimated how cruel people could be. Her belief crumbled. She rushed out, and in the elevator lobby, she collided with someone. Her bag fell, and everything spilled. Violet crouched in silence, her hands shaking as she gathered her things. Then a pair of pale hands appeared beside hers. Are you all right? She looked up. He wore a mask, but his eyes were sharp and beautiful. His voice was raspy, like he was sick. She looked away. Thanks. I'm Phoenix. She stood up, and so did he. She didn't look at him again. She just wanted to leave. Then a cool hand caught her wrist. I have something to say to you, he said, his voice low and rough. I wrote it down. He pulled a letter from his bag. He held the envelope so tight his fingernails went red. The way he called her senior and his obvious concern made her look at him again. So he knew her. Their ugly faces came back to her. She shook off his hand, her eyes stinging. She didn't even look at the letter. Everyone's just having fun, she said coldly. This is worthless to me. She unloaded all her rage on a stranger. Only outside did she realize what she'd done. When she went back, he was gone. Life got too busy and she forgot about him until her father went to prison and she found out she was being sent overseas. The last time she saw her father, it started to rain. The rain only got worse. She walked in the rain without an umbrella, her hair plastered to her face. Her heel got stuck in a drain and she fell. Tears mixed with rain. Sobs mixed with the storm. People stared but didn't stop. Then, through her tears, she saw someone holding an umbrella over her. But he wasn't looking at her. His face was pale. The rain drummed against the umbrella. Don't cry, he said. It'll get better. A black car pulled up and the driver called his name. Ethan. His name was Ethan. Violet clutched the umbrella he'd given her, his warmth still in her palm. She watched the car disappear. Overseas, with no friends and no language, she couldn't stop thinking about him. It became an obsession. Violet pulled herself from the memory, her eyes red. She thought she was hunting a lamb. He was a wolf in disguise. She laughed bitterly. So this was all revenge. Ethan looked down, his fists tightening. She had been smiling with Zach outside, then acting jealous over him. He was terrified she was just toying with him, so he threw her own words back at her. But watching her hurt, his chest ached. Violet's voice shook. "I hurt you. I am sorry. You got your revenge." The hallway went quiet. He just watched her, his eyes soft and sad. Violet looked away. "I'm done playing," she said, and turned around. She didn't make it 2 steps before he pulled her into his arms. She froze. His words stung. She pushed him away, but he held on. She pushed again. He didn't let go. He buried his face in her neck. "I was wrong," he murmured. Violet stopped fighting and let him hold her, still crying. Zach said he had fought for her in college. She had refused his letter and said cruel things. Yet he still came to her in the rain. She had killed his love herself. Now she was paying for it. She accepted it. But what did he mean? "Can I leave now?" He didn't let go. He nuzzled her neck and shook his head like a stubborn kitten. Her nose burned again. She clutched his shirt. "I ruined myself over one sentence. You can't be this selfish." He pulled back slightly. "Selfish?" He almost laughed. "Yes, I am selfish," he said, his voice low and fierce. "So just play with me. Even if you ruin me, I'll take it." For the next week, Violet focused on the shop. When she had a spare moment, she'd check her phone. No calls from him. She didn't understand what he meant. A confession? Then why didn't he call? Maybe it was just more revenge. Open her up, then hurt her again. Between jet lag and her period, Violet had a constant dull cramp. She stopped overthinking and drove to the hospital. In the dark conference room, the man at the head of the table tapped his fingers on the wood. He stared at his phone, his face unreadable and distant. He first saw her at the freshman orientation. She was the host, standing alone in a gown, smiling with confidence. He didn't believe in love at first sight, but then he kept running into her on campus, always smiling with friends, and she never noticed him. The eldest son inherited everything. As the second, he never wanted. No one forced him to study business, so he never tried. His brother would handle it. So when he fell for her, he didn't bother confessing. Someone so brilliant wouldn't want a younger guy. Then he heard she said yes to someone and later heard Zach mocking her. He couldn't stop himself. He recorded it and threw a punch. How could anyone tarnish the moon he worshipped? If she could date Zach, why hide? Then the Violet family collapsed. He realized he was useless. He couldn't save her. He ached for her, but didn't want to seem opportunistic. So he wrote a letter, the oldest trick, just to say he was still there. But she didn't care. She brushed him off. He wasn't a stalker. He knew it was hopeless. But seeing everyone attack her family, he couldn't stay away. His phone rang, breaking the silence. The room shifted. He glanced at the screen and picked up. "You should ask her out yourself," his assistant said on the elevator. "Me going seems like I'm not serious." Ethan leaned back. He had been obvious, and he gave her a week to think. She was smart. "I'm just shy," he said. The room went awkwardly quiet. "What if she says no? That's her job to fix." The assistant stood outside the glass shop. "I'm serious. If she says no, what then?" Ethan twirled a pen. "Then tie her up and bring her," he said casually. His assistant fell silent. He hung up and saw his staff staring at him. He sat up. "Now that you've reviewed the projects, let's hear your ideas." The door opened. It was Luke's assistant. She stood there, eyes red. "The CO passed out after drinking my coffee," she said nervously. Violet left the doctor's office with her prescription, holding her stomach, heading downstairs. People nearby looked at her and then stepped back. Violet frowned, confused. Then she looked up and saw a man exiting a hospital room nearby. Ethan thought he was seeing things. Then he looked at her hand on her belly. His eyes flickered. Violet watched him walk up to her. "Was I too hard on you the other night?" Her face went red. She looked around, embarrassed. He grabbed the slip from her hand. People nearby gave him odd looks. The script was messy. He only caught obstetrics. He stared at those letters. "Go get your ID," he said. His serious tone caught her off guard. Then she laughed. "I'm not pregnant." He saw her laugh and felt something sink in his chest. Then she spoke again. "Why would I have a child for someone who doesn't love me?" she said softly. The noise around them faded into silence. He stood frozen, his eyes cold, then bitter. As she walked by, he finally spoke. "Who said I don't love you?" He led her to the car. They buckled in. No one spoke. He held the wheel, but didn't start the car. Sunlight poured in warm. "I thought I was clear," he said, his voice rough and sad. Maybe it was the warmth, but her cramps eased. She fidgeted. "I don't understand," she admitted. He turned to her. Her profile was lit by the sun. She was always so bold and bright. Even after all this time, his heart still raced. He took her hand. "Violet, I love you. Let me say it again. You hurt me, but now we're even." She met his dark eyes. Her heart pounded. Her eyes filled with tears. She pulled her hand away and dug at her purse. He panicked, his eyes reddening. "I wasn't getting back at you. Don't leave me." She pulled out an envelope just as he spoke. She looked away. "I didn't take your letter back then. I wrote you one to make up for it." He stared at the pink envelope, then pulled her close and kissed her. He never regretted anything. 3 years working for his brother was worth it. The hospital was busy outside. Inside the car, it was quiet and awkward. Violet sat up straighter. "What about Chloe? What about her?" He frowned. There's nothing between us. She likes you. He looked at her. Now you're being generous? You weren't so calm the other night. So what are we now? She asked, meeting his eyes. He laughed. We've already kissed. What else do you want? She rolled her eyes. Ethan, why are you smiling like that at a meeting? Is that a file in your hand? Luke's quiet voice dropped the temperature in the room. Everyone looked down. Both Chin brothers were brilliant, but both had bad tempers. Ethan looked up and held up the pink envelope. He couldn't stop smiling, dimples and all. It's a love letter from my girlfriend, he said proudly. Everyone froze. Even Luke paused. Then Ethan kept going. I'll read it out loud. No one knew what to say. Violet lounged on the couch, watching the shop come together. It was almost ready. She realized she hadn't been this happy in years. Overseas, she'd lie awake and think of him, wondering if he'd found someone else. Then she learned he had been waiting for her all along. He'd made her cry twice, but caring for someone that much, it felt kinda good. Love looks good on you. Never thought I'd see you blush. Hazel handed her coffee. Remember that influencer from a photo? Her account got banned. Violet froze. The door opened. It was Ethan's older brother, followed by a woman in a white suit. You seem to be doing well, Luke said, looking around. He had the same lazy air as his brother, but his tone wasn't friendly. Violet stood. Can I help you? He studied her. She looked softer in her chiffon dress. He glanced at his assistant, who was staring at Violet. He scoffed. Just a woman. Has he told you about what happened with the family? Violet stopped pouring water. She shook her head. Of course he did, Luke said. You didn't really think all that debt just vanished, did you? Water spilled. Violet wiped it up. She remembered her father saying he'd paid it with her mother's fund. Oh, I heard about that, Yvette chimed in. He threatened the finance people and got beat by his dad. Shut up, Luke snapped. She shut her mouth. Violet's eyes widened. She was silent. He looked around the glass shop. This place isn't cheap, he said. It's a deal, Hazel said. $10,000 a month. 5 years. Luke was silent. He cursed his brother, given her everything. He turned and left, his expression like thunder. Yvette smiled and ran after him, then bumped into his back. Sorry, she said. Clumsy. Walk ahead, he said. That's not right, she said. Just go. Stop talking. She didn't argue. The sky was dark and heavy, like rain was coming. Ethan came home to find Violet sitting on his couch. He smiled, forgetting his brother's yelling. Why didn't you say you were coming? I just got here, she said. There's no food. Let's go out, he said, his voice gentle. Let's go to the store. I'll make dinner, she said, kissing him. He smiled. Okay. The store was quiet. Ethan pushed the cart in his suit, looking out of place. He watched her pick vegetables, his chest tight. He didn't say anything. They walked home together, her hand on his arm. A thin fog hung in the air. Why so quiet, she asked. Did you always cook for yourself overseas? He asked quietly. Yeah, didn't like the food there. So I learned, she said casually. Her easy answer broke his heart. I'm sorry, he said. She stopped. No, I'm sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't know. She was a mess, but she meant it all. They stood in the empty street, the wind moving her dress, their shadows long in the light. He touched her nose. Don't cry. I chose to do it, but I think about all those years and it hurts. She couldn't hold it in anymore. She cried. I'll pay you back, she said through tears. He wiped her tears. Her shoulders shook. It was too much. She could never repay it. Then give me your whole life instead. His voice was light, but she couldn't stop crying. All the pain, all the hurt, all came together and let go. He sighed, set down the bags, and kissed her. She was out of breath. I need to cook, she mumbled. Let's do something else, he said. She knew what he meant. She walked ahead. He followed and tugged her arm. Please. No, she said, pretending to be annoyed. He smiled, took her hand, and walked beside her. He never thought this would happen, but here it was. He leaned close, but he whispered. The shadows shifted. The fog lifted. They walked into the night, finally together. At last, they were the leads in each other's story. This is where their story ends for now. The once unattainable Rose fell into the mud and found her way back to warmth. It was not just a romance about rescue. It was about learning to value yourself again. Life can hit like a sudden storm. It takes your clothes, your confidence, your pride. We've all felt that fall from grace. Losing a job, doubting yourself, being alone. But being down doesn't change who you are. A rose can wilt, can be stepped on, but if its roots are alive, it remembers how to bloom. He didn't save her. He showed her who she really was. Love isn't charity. Real love is looking someone in the eye when they're at their worst and saying, you still matter. For you, reading this now, if you're in a dark place right now, feeling cold and alone, don't give up on yourself. Remember, a rose isn't just beautiful. It has thorns. It doesn't break in a storm. The world measures you by its own rules. But don't abandon yourself. The darkest times aren't here to break you. They're here to show you what's real. Your clear mind, your pride, the part of you that will never stop hoping. May we bloom with confidence and land with grace. No fall can define someone who never quits. If she hadn't met him, what would have happened to her? Does our strength come from someone else's love or from the courage to face the wreckage alone?